Hey guys, it's Tony at the Strength House, and today I'm going to answer a common question that we often get, and that's how wide is too wide to stand for a sumo deadlift? So one of the main advantages of the sumo deadlift is that you get to cut down the range of motion by standing wider, but there is a point of diminishing returns here. So people often try to get their feet way out to the plates to try to really cut down that range of motion, but the problem here is twofold. So when you're standing this wide, it's really hard to keep the knees lined up with the hips and the ankles. You'll often see people with their knees kind of inside their hips and ankles because they're simply standing too wide and they can't turn those hips out as much. It's also really hard to push with the legs here. So the sumo deadlift uses a bit more quads than the conventional deadlift, but if you notice, if you're standing really wide like this, if you were to try to jump off the ground like this, you can hardly get any vertical motion, whereas if you're narrower like a conventional deadlift, you can jump much higher because you can produce more force with your quads. So if you feel like you can't use your legs effectively in your sumo deadlift, you might be standing too wide. But going back to the hips and knees lining up, so you'll notice when I get in my sumo deadlift stance and I go much more on the wide side, when I just stand relaxed like this, if you were to draw a straight line from my hips to the middle of my feet, you'd want my knees right in the middle of that line. And if you notice, if I'm standing relaxed here, my knees are actually inside my hips and in my ankles. Now I can turn out pretty aggressively here and get them to almost line up, but it's gonna be really hard to get to the bar in that same position without those knees folding inside the hips. If I simply narrow my stance a bit, I can get to that bar and have my hips, knees, and ankles all line up. So if you have a coach or if you want to video yourself from the front to kind of see if those things line up, that's a good way to double check and make sure that the width of your stance is effective and you're going to be able to push with your quads through the ground.